today I've got Abdellah Majd from Rebel Realty. We're here to find out about what happened in Hamilton over October. Abdellah, what's the update, man?
To me, whether it's balanced up, down, or sideways in a market, it's all relative. You can always find a deal. Right?
Yeah.
There's always distressed buyers out there.
If you're sitting at home and you're shopping, there's 2,200 listings, you're thinking, what do I buy, right? What's the best bang for my buck? It's obvious in this data that the best investment you can make in Hamilton is a 3-bedroom rental.
Even up into these 800s in Hamilton, right? If you're finding one like this where it's already legal, it's already kind of configured, and there's not much of a renovation cost, and you're not dealing with $250,000, $300,000 reno budgets, they're out there.
Welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I'm Adam J.D. Martin, your host, and today I've got Abdellah Majd from Rebel Realty. We're here to find out about what happened in Hamilton over October. Abdellah, what's the update, man?
Adam, how are you, man? Glad to be back once again. Got lots of cool stuff to talk about today. I don't know, what do you want to do, chat? We talked about the stats a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I'd love to pull those stats back up for a second, actually, because what I thought was really nice about your presentation earlier, and if you guys missed that, you can go back and watch our Super Cup where we aggregate all the stats for the various Ontario markets. But what Abdellah did here with these stats I found was really interesting was you have the year over year, but also the month over month. And I think the month over month was really useful in this update because it really helps us to have a little more context, right? Because a year over year is a nice stat to generally understand sort of the larger, more macro state of the market. But the month over month is great because that's talking about seasonality, but it's also just talking about like what sort of demand can we expect from the market? What can we potentially expect going forward when we start to hear the November market update? And so interesting stuff here, right? Like obviously a lot more sales in October compared to September. And I think that's really great. Seeing those sales come and the inventory dropping is kind of fascinating. I think the people that were on the sidelines and have taken action are probably enjoying right now some discounts that I think are going to slowly go away. We'll see how this looks across the rest of the year. Like obviously December is usually a very slow month in January, and then we start kind of picking back up February, March as we get into that spring market. But it's good to see volume moving. It's good to see their, transactions are happening again. And like you said, off air there, this is one of the first months where we've seen the sales up and inventory actually coming down, right? So there's demand that's getting exercised across the market. We're seeing average days on market actually down from the month to month. I know that annual figure there looks high when you're saying it's 40% higher than last year. But the important figure to me is what's actually happening right now. It's kind of like predicting the weather, right? When you're looking at the weather, the best prediction of weather is what's happening today is most likely what's going to happen tomorrow, right? And that's that'll beat the weather forecast like 10 times out of 10. So when we start seeing days on market down 9% across the previous month, I like to think that there's a little bit of momentum that gets generated. It changes the conversation and it changes sort of the will of the people, right? Is what we're seeing come through there where sales are up, inventory's down, days on market's down. So you've got less stuff available. The stuff that is available is selling faster, and there's more inventory and volume moving throughout the market. So I like all of that for Hamilton.
Yeah, me too, Adam. Yeah, it's again, like you said, sales versus inventory. First time we've seen the arrows point 1 point north, 1 point south. Again, I try to really hone in and be like, okay, well, is this really happening? Is it not? Just within our office, within our, our greater kind of agent network in Hamilton. So yeah, like I said, it feels at times like we're turning a corner. Buyers are, one thing I can tell you is, me personally, our team, buyers are coming off the sideline. People are reaching out. We're going on more appointments. To me, that's the key. Right?
Yep.
When you're going more qualified, and I mean qualified and realistic appointments, which we've been on more of, it's definitely a sign. But of course, from a macro level, though nothing surprises me. The micro month over month, could be a little momentum building in the background. And, slowly kind of work its way to the forefront. So, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe a sign of things to come.
Well,
But
this is what
either,
we expected. Right? Like,
yeah,
and I think we're going to have a slow winter personally. I think things are going to be relatively slow. Like, inflation numbers just came out and like CPI is not where they wanted it to be. So you're not going to see huge rate cuts for mortgages. So I don't see like a crazy winter. But I do still think there's still a ton of demand for real estate that will probably see exercised in the spring market. And so that to me, again, from an investor chair, when I'm sitting here across the winter, what I'm thinking about is there's a lot of consumers that are going to be sidelined still, that are waiting to see any rate drops coming in the spring. They're waiting for some of those CMHC changes coming in the spring. They're waiting on some of
yeah,
these changes that are going to affect their buying power. And what I think is, as an investor, and I know like the comments have been wild lately, right? People are like, you guys are always saying buy. And it's like, well, yeah, honestly, buy, right? Because if you do your math correctly and you set your goals properly and you can find properties that fit your strategy, times where the consumers are on the sidelines and people still have to list because of job loss, because of expanding families, because of shrinking families, right? The empty nesters and stuff like that. Like, people still have to sell their houses for very specific reasons, and they don't care about the market cycle when they actually have to sell. They just have to sell. And so as an investor, when consumers are sidelined, I start seeing opportunity where I can put out more offers, right? And so right now, as an investor, if you're watching this update, you're thinking, wow, sales are up, supply's going down. That means price is going to come up. And that means I missed the boat. Well, it's like, not really, because I think December and January is going to be pretty slow. And that gives you the opportunity to reach out to Rebel Realty, give Abdellah a call and say, hey, what properties do you think we should be putting offers on? Right? What's sitting? What's priced inappropriately? Who's got unrealistic expectations? And start whittling away at those properties by submitting offers. And action is the actual way through these stats that is going to get you as the investor to have success criteria going into the spring market. You don't want to be buying when the market's experiencing the most activity, which is going to be March, right? You want to be buying prior to that. So that's where I sit anyways.
yeah. I think, yeah, they're on the end user side, which we still deal with a considerable amount. Even something as recent as throwing an offer in last night, condition on the buyer's home selling. From our standpoint, there's no shame, right? We're chucking offers out there. I hate to say it, it's throwing sometimes you throw mud at the wall, see what sticks, right? Depending on what kind of conversation you're having with the other agent. But my message to buyers, unless they want something and we can all sit there and agree and validate it, I'm basically advising people like let's use this market to our advantage. That's why it's called a buyer's market.
Yep.
Right? So buyers can go out there and be advantageous. It's been a common message, at least from my mouth to my clients' ears, and just trying to get them to understand. Look, if unless you're going to lose sleep over this, there will be others. There's still a lot of inventory to work through, and I just don't want to get into next year and look back and be like, oh, have people say, oh my God, we could have got a deal here, or I don't know if we should have paid this. Like, we've already gone through that, right? I'm
Yep.
trying to use the COVID market or how, the pandemic market as a kind of like an example of how things may go, and to make sure that buyer remorse doesn't come into play here and all that. So when it comes to investors, like, obviously depending on what you're looking at, I don't know, to me, whether it's balanced up, down, or sideways in a market, it's all relative. You can always find a deal,
Yeah.
right? There's always distressed buyers out there, obviously a lot more than normal right now with the economy and people's wallets being empty, sadly, and all that. But I don't know, to me, there's always deals to be had. We're not saying if you don't buy now, you're never going to invest, but we don't try to time the market, but we've never seen such an expansive timeline where buyers can go out there and take advantage. So
Yeah. And on the disposition side, I mean, there's 2,100 listings still, almost 2,200 listings, which is a ton. I mean, that's a lot of inventory for Hamilton. And so I think that, that's not hopeless either, because when you see the days on market creeping down, you see months of supply creeping down. There's still a ton of inventory, but there's also sales volume. So what that says to me is like, I want to make my listing as attractive as possible. I'm
yes,
probably
right.
in this type of market, I'm staging it. I'm making sure it's super clean. I'm making sure I have great professional photography done. I'm making sure I'm like taking a little bit of extra time to just eliminate any weirdness from the listing. right? So if it's like, oh, it would be great, but like, the appliances are just terrible or something like that. It's like those couple thousand could make a big difference today in whether or not you sell or don't sell. And I think that making an attractive listing in this type of market with these stats, you should sell, right? As long as you're priced reasonably and you've got realistic expectations. It sounds like volume is moving, right? So that's a good sign too for sellers.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, Adam, it's funny you say that when you're talking about listings and like that's exactly what we've been doing is a little bit more downtime in this market. We're still fairly busy, thankfully, as a group, as an office. This is the time to take advantage, right? And this is a message I send to any agent that will listen to me is take your time. Exactly what you just said. Walk through that home with a fine-tooth comb. Make sure it stands out. Obviously, make sure it's priced right in relation to the nearby data. But like the presentation of a home has not been more important than it is right now. So
Yeah.
just wanted to fortify that comment, if you will. We can touch on this quickly, Adam, before we jump into following slides there. We got some cool stuff to talk about today, but I've had multiple conversations with existing investor clients who are, on their first, second, third, fourth turnover at properties that we've, had the, been fortunate to help them secure. There's an obvious correction here in this rental market. I got to come out and say it. It's not considerable. It's not anything that's going to send you, running for the hills or destroy cash flow projections or whatnot. But again, just to be mindful and proactively displaying these stats for our viewers and making sure that, the rental rates that we've all enjoyed for a few years are starting to see a bit of a balancing act here. So, and again, it's the same thing here. If you've got something optimal and you've structured it properly and, you've used a year or two of having that property and you've worked the numbers, maybe added some utilities that you're passing on to the tenant, but you've regressed your base rent, right? Just playing around with it until you kind of hit the sweet spot. So again, you see it. They're all low single digit changes, except for the 4 bedrooms, and that's just not in the world of investing usually. But there is something there. We've got about just our team, so my sales team alone, we've got about 15, maybe 17 leases up for investor clients. So I mean, we stare at this thing night and day. So just to kind of throw that out there to the viewers.
Yeah, no, and again, we've talked about this before on your market updates and I love that you bring this because it's very relevant to our audience. And again, like if you're sitting at home and you're shopping, there's 2,200 listings, you're thinking, what do I buy, right? What's the best bang for my buck? It's obvious in this data that the best investment you can make in Hamilton is a 3-bedroom rental, right? It's got the strongest rent. It's generally pretty insulated, right? It's got the same type of rent fluctuation that you're seeing, even less than the 2-bed and kind of close to the 1-bed, but it's actually up 1% from last year, right? Which is not a huge number again, but again, it's that lack of volatility that makes me excited.
Yeah.
Because that 4-bed, it's just not worth it, right? Because if that house is more expensive, and that rent difference, by the way, is almost like a $40,000 difference at a 5 cap. So like you can make sense of trying to juice the extra couple $100 out of a rental, but at the same time, that 3-bed, if it's a nice 3-bed, you're gonna have a higher tenant quality, right? You're gonna have an easier time managing it, and it should be rentable, right? It should rent very quickly and very easily, and that couple $100 maybe makes a big difference to your actual renter. So I like the 3-bed investments here. I think it's really fantastic. And once again, we see the difference between the studio and the 1-bedroom just being so stark. I mean, that $400 difference is a big difference, I would say. So you're always trying to get that bedroom in there if you can. And then if possible, and you're just looking at 2,200 listings, a 3-bed is the clear choice here.
Yeah, I'll always say 3 beds. They're the king essentially of the suite mix for sure. The only place I really don't like them is in basements, really, with some
that's rough.
in Hamilton, right? Just I don't. To me, what are you going to have there? 800-900 square feet. You're jamming 3 beds as opposed to focusing more on like a free flowing kitchen to living room aspect or component type. So I've seen it all, but yeah, if if you've got a nice sizable 3-bed, that's always going to hold the most water here. So, but yeah, Adam, we're going to jump into some mainly commercial opportunities. This one we've talked about it on the channel before. So a bit of a refresher. There aren't many lots out there that are site plan approved, that are shovel ready, if you will. This one's had an incredible amount of due diligence done with the conservation aspect of Smithville, and just jumping through the hoops and noise impact studies. Like it's been an incredible. There's a lot of money and blood and sweat that's gone into getting this site to SPA. 22-story towns. It's got the development agreement there. Again, site plan approval. They just qualified an extension on the condo agreement as well. So plenty of time to go in and make any tweaks pre-permit stage. So this is the heart of Smithville, right downtown, kind of enclosed by a mature neighborhood. 1.8 acres, 22-story towns, 3D renderings available. Due diligence is fully available. A nice, very professional looking package. Again, something that for a small to mid-sized builder or somebody that wants to put together a joint venture with colleagues. This is something that's fairly insulated. You're looking at sale prices here anywhere in the 750 to 800 mark, depending on interior versus end unit. So, I've ran those numbers on that sales volume. Somebody that has the experience can go in and have a lean construction budget, the ability to possibly put legal second suites in all the units, right? And take it from 20 to 40 and really have it insulated. I've seen a ton of developers do that, especially I'm sure you've seen it out west and especially out in Calgary where these developers are selling, I've looked at stuff out in Edmonton too. 2-3 units on one lot and bring it together through CMHC. So there's a variety of opportunity here. But again, site plan approved, 1.8 acres. So any interest, obviously, leave us a comment. This one is something that we're holding off market currently. Could be a great investment opportunity. Somebody that has a business that could move it into one of these units. There are multiple residential dwellings here that are getting top flight rents, being in the lower west part of Hamilton in a very strong business area. So 9 commercial units here, 3 residential across. So it's the side by side, those buildings, as you can see by the address. 1 vacant commercial unit. So again, kind of there for any owner operator, if you will, to take over the 1,600 square foot unit there. Currently pulling in, including projected rent on that vacant unit, about $243 with still some upside there, some rents that could be product to market. Approximate NOI about 180 grand. Tons of parking in the back. Really strong buildings here. The infrastructure, all the big ticket items are done. Nothing to worry about in that sense. Any capex on the way in. Something find very unique. These don't come up for sale too much. And in addition to that, the far left, the blue exterior there, they're up for sale as well. So definitely the opportunity to assemble that row there. But super excited about that one, Adam. Jumping into a case study here where we presented this upon purchase with our investor. Now we're at the end stage of the conversion. So, excited to kind of deliver how the entire project went from beginning to end. So we closed on this one in mid-July. So what are we, July to August, 3-4 months. The nice thing about this one, which is to refresh memories, is the main duplex was already basically ready to rock. There was some light cosmetics that were done, backsplash, new counters, painting cabinetry, just to kind of, get it up to snuff in a sense. What we projected, we hit the nail on the head with the main and the upper floor. The garage suite was just listed at $1,750. The really nice thing here is everything is separate, minus the water meters. So every unit has their own gas and hydro.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this one is just one of the cooler ones I've been a part of in quite some time. 75 by 167 lot. It's got a 13,000 square foot lot. We'll see how the zoning goes here in Hamilton. They're getting primed for another rezoning change or a rezoning plan, so to speak. I don't know, the third one since maybe the end of 21. So this runs really deep. Everybody's got their own backyard here. The garage suite just got finished. For the viewers, you look it up, 55 Stonechurch Road East, Unit 3. Looks spectacular as a finished product. That's got its own backyard too, even as a garage unit with a storage shed at the back of the lot. It's really a fantastic property. Everybody's got parking, 2-car parking for the bigger units. So purchased this again at 840, brought it to legal triplex. Rental costs were roughly 100 grand. And then, running it at a 5.5% cap rate. Again, we don't have an appraisal in hand, but very confident seeing the size. We're looking at almost 2,700 square feet here across all units. Giant lot, parking, separate utilities, the works at about 1.175, and taking some comparables into consideration. Giving you a full capital takeout and a few $100 a month in monthly cash flow, using about a 4.99% rate there on a 30-year AM, in line with what we're getting from our brokers. So just super exciting when these come to fruition, Adam. And now we have the final numbers. Our viewers can go back to the episode of when this was purchased and kind of align everything and see how we've executed, right? Even up into these 800s in Hamilton, right? If you're finding one like this where it's already legal, it's already kind of configured, and there's not much of a renovation cost, and you're not dealing with $250,000-$300,000 rental budgets, they're out there, right? Like the amount of capital that's being thrown down doesn't necessarily have to be 400 or 500 grand, right? So we try to be as creative as possible. Whatever the client is comfortable with, whatever the capital situation is, that's always the first thing that I go to and work backwards on that. And again, inventory's out there, and we're glad we were able to execute this flawlessly. So super excited about that one for our investor. Jumping into some ground up builds here that some of our investors have picked up. This one we talked about in a previous episode. Investors of ours have now secured this and looking at a stacked 4-unit build here. So super excited to see what we'll share other numbers way down the road when this is built up and getting closer to lease stage. But this is going to be super cool. Separate utilities on the way in. Nice, clean product. Top end rents. In a lower east end where rents are holding very steady. So this was actually originally listed with permits in hand for 3 units. So a legal duplex plus an ADU. And again, with anything that we look at, we want to look at highest and best use without the investor losing a shirt on any sort of planning features. So we've looked into it high and low, and getting pretty confident that a 4-unit build can be executed here. So super excited there. Another one here that is off market currently that some investors of ours picked up within the last few weeks, maybe since our last episode, you and I, Adam. So this one's actually a 4-lot land assembly. So we're projecting about 16 units. That is not 100% just yet, but we will. That's what we'll be striving for. Again, highest and best use. So we'd have 4 units side by side across those 4 lots, and processed through CMHC MLI Select under the energy efficiency model, which looks mightily different when you're dealing with net new and the point system you can achieve. So we're projecting about a 2-bed, 1 bath, a 2-bed plus den and a bath. This is up in Mount Hope, very developed area. It's only started getting developed about 10, 12-ish years ago. And Cache and Brant Haven Homes are just finished a large subdivision around the corner. So a new build, just it's got the insulation, the continuity, and super excited to see how that goes. But still in the very early stages. But just to kind of tie this all into, these aren't as daunting as you may think, right? If you're doing the right research involving the right professionals, you have the analytics, the acquisition, the right commercial team, most importantly, a broker that can line everything up and run you through how complicated the CMHC side may be. There's always a way to get answers. It's just about connecting with the right people. I'd like to think we have the power team here, but another super exciting project that will start to be developed hopefully in the next 4 or 5 months here.
That's awesome.
That brings us to the end, my friends. So as always, our preferred vendors here, I know you guys just shot some footage here with our construction friends at 555. Adam, looked like you guys had a blast
Yeah.
looking at some of those current projects.
Yeah, if you guys are interested in finding out more, I know we talked about several properties here that included an ADU. We did go out with 555 Construction and looked at some of their actual project sites. So we went out to 3 different sites and we shot 4 videos on site of 3 different styles of ADU. So if you guys are curious about 555 and their work and their quality of work, or you're curious about ADUs, click over and search for our videos regarding ADUs with 555 because like they were amazing and 555 was great. Yasser gave us an incredible walkthrough of all of the projects, the different styles of ADUs, as well as just some of the thought process that goes behind taking regular inventory, like regular size lots that you probably have in your portfolio, and turning them into really interesting opportunities to add value and bring your properties up to their highest and best use. And it was a fantastic learning experience for myself. And honestly, changed a little bit of my opinion or sort of some of the mindset I had going in to what an ADU really is. Totally different than what I thought, very different formats of getting it executed. And what a fantastic way to add tons of revenue to your existing portfolio or to start to think differently about how you're purchasing those future properties. So thank you, Abdellah, for bringing that up today too, about looking at that property where there was already a triplex in hand, but then you guys can take a look at it, and especially with the power team you have there at Revel, and just say, hey, this could actually be a fourplex, right? We could actually bring the value of this building or this property or this investment up quite significantly by adding an additional, right, couple $1,000 a month in revenue. If you look at that on a 5 cap, that's a significant rise in value. So that just shows me again the value that you bring with Revel and working with your preferred vendors here and your power team. And honestly, there's nothing like having full service when it comes to actually wanting to exercise quick and reliable investment strategies. So I appreciate having you on the channel again, Abdellah. And again, if anybody's got questions or want to reach out about some of these different types of properties that we've been talking about today, just reach out to Abdellah and the team, and he'd be more than happy to help you. And obviously, he's on the channel here for a reason, right? Abdellah's got the goods, and he's bringing them back here every month. So, come back here next month for the next month's update.
Can't execute all this without our team members. Just a shout out Synergy as well and their knowledge base with CMHC and keeping our team up to date with all those changes, and even outside of the ones that were rolled out federally, but a lot of internal stuff with our personal portfolio as well. So huge CMHC correspondence there. Again, we do a very good job at quote unquote staying in our lane, and from acquisition to planning with deck to execution there on the construction side and to the leasing side of it and all that. So can't do it alone for sure. So takes us a long way when we're taking on the type of investors on our end. So always a pleasure, Adam. Man.
Awesome, Abdallah. We'll see you back here next month, and we'll check out what actually happened during the October numbers, so that we can get a great idea for next month. What are we looking at? What's the winter going to look like? What's the spring market going to look like? What are we trending towards? What should we expect as investors? And that's, again, the insights we're trying to gain by meeting here monthly so that we can get you guys on top of the numbers. You don't have to spend all that time wasting time doing things that you're not great at. So thank you, Abdellah, for bringing us that information, because I know it saves me a ton of time, and I really appreciate that. So we'll see you back here next month.
Yeah, we'll see you next month. Cheers.